Hello everyone, I am Jacob Gluck, and in this video, I'd like to talk about the service industry. Now, I work in the plumbing industry, so I know a lot of secrets in this industry, both from legitimate companies and perhaps what I might call some sketchy business tactics from sketchy companies. And so I'd like to share with you my experience being exposed to both types of companies. So this company that I'm referring to here is of the second type. I'm going to refer to them as RCP. That's their initials. I'm not going to mention them by name because I don't want to name and shame them, and I certainly don't want to get in trouble. They are a pretty powerful company. They're very popular here in Tampa. A lot of people use them. They have a strong brand recognition. And as I will explain later in this video, they have good things to offer. So it's not all bad. When I say sketchy, I mean it in the literal sense of the word, in that there are some things that are questionable about their practices, or at least I consider them questionable. And if you, the listener, thinks that they're fine, that they're not questionable, then that's fine too. And go along with them, and no hard feelings. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to tell you the features of this company, meaning characteristics that stand out, that are different from many others, but certainly not all others, because this system that I'm describing here, it's pretty popular. So they're certainly not the only one to do this. Okay, one feature is called membership. So what this company does is it tries to induce customers who call you for a problem. Okay, so I'm dealing with a plumbing company here. So let's say they call you for a problem, the water heater is not working. Okay, so one of the things that tech is going to do is they're going to try to sell you a membership. They're going to tell you that if you do the membership, you'll get a discount, 15% discount for all services, including today's service. So the discount will apply even to today's transaction. So I mean, as you can see, it's pretty attractive because the membership only costs $100. My company, the company that I work for, it does both AC and plumbing. So they sell $100 for each service agreement. So it's a total of $200 if you want to buy both. But if you want plumbing only, it's $100. So it appears to be pretty attractive, this offer, and I'll explain later why it's not as attractive as it seems, but I'll get to that later. Okay, another feature of this company is they are known for having high prices. Okay, now there are a lot of things that come with the high prices. They're very professional, extremely professional. They have a brand, usually name brands are higher priced. They definitely stand behind their work. If you have any issue, you call them, they'll be back. And they also make you feel really good. They are trained to interact with you in a positive way and to be very respectful to you, the customer. So there's a lot of good things that come with a high price, but we'll get back to that later as to the downside of all this. All right, the company offers a $29.95 dispatch fee, $30 only. So in other words, when the customer is calling the company and say, "Hey, I have a problem," and the company tells them, "Hey, the only thing you're committed to pay is $30. That's it." So it seems very cheap, which is a very attractive way of getting customers, right? Because a lot of other companies in the category one that I described earlier, the more legit companies will charge you higher trip fees, appearance fees. If you want them to show up at your house and diagnose your problem, they charge you something more closer to $60, $70, or $50 is the lowest. Nobody will do it for less than $50. And in truth, even $50 is actually a subsidized price, meaning if every customer paid only $50 to diagnose a problem and never fixed anything with the company, then the company would be losing money. So just so you know about that. So they're not happy to come down for a $50 or $60 or $70 transaction. They're expecting a lot more. But at least that's legit. $30 is extremely low. So this company that I'm telling you about, RCP, they're definitely not happy. They call it a no rev a no rev call or a no rev visit, no revenue, because the $30 essentially doesn't even cover the gas, the time of the tech, and the expense of having the dispatcher even talk to you and so on. So this is just a losing call. Okay, so this company makes the customer feel that you care. So I hinted at that earlier. So they have a system called Nexstar, Nexstar. So this is a third party that comes in and tells them how to deal with customers, what to do to maximize revenue and to make customers loyal to you and extract the most price, and while projecting an image that you're giving a lot of value to the customer. I mean, that's usually that's the way expensive service companies operate nowadays. Charge high while making the customer feel that you're giving them something extra. Instead of just start charging a reasonable price and saying, hey, I'm giving you what you're asking, instead try to upmark that price and then tell them, hey, you're paying more, but you're getting so much more. Okay. So they make customers feel that you care. Another feature here is that they give the customer options. So what do I mean by options? Let's say your call is about a water heater. The water heater doesn't warm, right? Now the tech is gonna come in. The tech is an honest tech, so he's just gonna come in and diagnose the problem. And it turns out that there's the element doesn't work. The heating element doesn't work. So normally this is a procedure that it should take definitely no longer than half an hour to replace, but possibly even quicker. It's really, I mean, somebody who's experienced tech should be able to do this in 10, 15 minutes. The actual part costs about $10, $15. So how to price this, I'm not going to get into, but I'm just laying out here the facts just so you understand that this type of solution ought to be far cheaper than replacing the entire water heater, right? It should be a lot simpler and a lot easier to do just this. And yet, the way this company operates is that they'll give you options. They'll tell you, okay, you know what? Option one, which will definitely fix the problem, is get a new water heater. Option two is replace the element and the thermostat and whatever. Option three is just the thermostat. It's just the element. So realize what's happening here. The tech is diagnosing the problem as being just the element, and yet that's option three. That's the last one on the list. The first two that he's trying to push and trying to sell you, which will definitely solve the problem at a higher certitude level than the option three, right? So the first two are going to be a lot more expensive, and they're the ones he's trying to promote and trying to get you to purchase. So this obviously, I mean, in my opinion, this is a very shady business practice, and it doesn't make for good and confident assessment, because the customer is like asking, like, what do you want? Which one should I do? And the way they're saying it is, and the way they're presenting it is, well, with option one, I can guarantee the problem will go away. But with option two and three, I can't, right? Because you're only replacing one element, and I can't guarantee it. So this way, they're covering themselves in case something goes bad, while at the same time promoting and advancing a higher revenue and a higher profit alternative. Okay. This company, RCP, they give you free camera inspection with every drain clearance. So if you call the company and there's a stoppage and we need to clear the drain, then they'll clear the drain for you. Then they'll tell you, okay, we can give you a free camera inspection. So this is a trick. The camera inspection actually is meant to be if the company gets a referral like that. They won't tell it to you. They won't offer you that free inspection unless they actually want to sell you something with that, right? It's not just a free inspection. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to find certain things in the line, and you'll always find something in the line. I mean, the sewer line is going to be discolored. There's going to be some stuff in there, whatever. And so then they're going to try to sell you the jetting. Okay, so hydrojetting it's called. It's flushing out the system with a very high pressure stream of water. So, so hydrojetting is expensive. It usually runs into the thousands of dollars. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's even available for anything less than 1,000. But depending on whether you're doing the main line and branch lines and so on, it's going to run you between, let's say, 1,400 and 35, 5,000 and higher if it's a large commercial entity. So, so yeah, it's expensive, and they'll give it to you for free. The camera inspection is free. Okay, so I'm going to get back to all of these things later. Another term that is common in this industry is called second op. It took me a while to figure out what op stands for. It actually is not operator. It's called opinion, second opinion. So a second op is when a technician goes down to your house and does work for you, and then they sell you an entirely unrelated service. So for example, let's say they call you down for a stoppage, like I mentioned earlier. And then the technician is going to ask you, if I happen to notice anything else, do you mind if I bring it to your attention? Yeah, so the question is going to be somewhere along those lines. And the idea here is that gives him a chance to look not just at the actual stoppage, but also at other components of your broader plumbing system that he might be able to sell you services on. So for example, if he sees an angle stop that he believes needs repair, or that he can convince you that needs repair, then he can try to sell you that too. So all of these things are profitable. So anyways, so when he notices, let's say, so again, so he's coming down there for a stoppage, but he notices that your water heater is 15 years old or 12 years old. So he'll say, well, so do you want a new water heater? And you'll say, yeah, sure. I don't want anything going bad on an emergency basis or anything unsafe. Sometimes they'll tell you it's unsafe, it might explode, or who knows what other bullshit they'll try to sell you there. Anyway, so nobody wants unsafe. So they'll say, okay, sure. So they'll charge you for the water heater right on the spot. And if the technician does that, so not only have they cleared your stoppage and charged you for that, but they've also sold you a new service. And they're charging you for that. And then the technician will get 9% of that money. He doesn't have to lift a finger other than sell the ticket. If he sells it, he gets 9% automatically for doing nothing. Then someone else comes down and installs it. Now, if he wants to install it himself, then that's great. And that's encouraged by the company, by the way, and the company saves more money that way. But he doesn't have to, because somebody else will install it. If somebody else has more expertise or has more time to do it, then they'll do it, and the company will have a separate compensation package with that actual technician. And this is why it actually is more expensive to the company if you, the seller, doesn't install it yourself. But you don't have to install it, and you'll capture 9%, which is a high amount for doing nothing really. And this is problematic. I mean, obviously, you see where the problem here is, because this is such an attractive price. I mean, a water heater, for example, runs about $1,500, right? 10% of a water heater is $150. So he can make $150 just for selling you something. Think about that. There are people, manual labor, unskilled labor, they make $150 a day. And this guy is already profiting from doing whatever he's doing for you, right? Clearing your stoppage. And he has many other calls that he's going to run today. So on the same day. And so he has plenty of income elsewhere. And this additional sale that he just made, that alone is $150. So there's an enormous incentive for them to try to sell stuff to you. Okay. Another variation of this second op is called the turnover. So the turnover involves you not selling anything, because you're basically saying, you know what, I'm not the expert on this. I'm not 100% sure if you even need a water heater. But what I'll do for you is I'll have somebody come over to give you an estimate. To give you an estimate for a new water heater. That's, of course, obviously if the customer wants it. If they don't want it, then they don't want it. But if they do want it, somebody will come over to give you an estimate. And this, by the way, also includes the camera inspection, right? To come over to give you a camera inspection. So this is an opportunity for someone else to sell you something. And for that, the technician gets paid much less, but they still get $50, $100, or $200, depending on the ticket price of the eventual sale. So if the eventual sale is over $2,000, then the referring technician will get $200 out of that. So this is so that actually also winds up being 10%, yeah. But overall, it's less. Overall, it's a little less, yeah, than if the technician sells it himself. Okay. The pressure is really high in this company for you to sell a lot. And it all goes by, and by a lot, I mean, it all goes by the ticket price. It doesn't go by the amount of profit that the company makes. That's a separate calculation, and that's not part of the metric here, part of the calculus here. What you are measured by the ticket price. How much is the customer paying? The revenue. It's not by the profit. It goes by the revenue. And so they'll tell you, our expectation. The manager will tell you, our expectation is for you to bring in $1,600 a day. That's a common number. $20,000 a month. That's another common number. The successful technicians bring in more than that. 25, 30. If you're really good, you'll bring in 40, 45 even. So, and if you're doing below 20, and then you consider the failure, and they might fire you, or they might sideline you, or somehow punish you, or have a talk with you, or whatever. So, so the pressure is on to sell. And that's how they measure the success of the company and your success as part of the company. Now, let me tell you some of the problems with all of these features. And then I'm going to tell you what you as a customer can do to guard yourself against these tactics. So number one, so here comes the, up until now, was the boring part. So sorry that you had to sit with me for the last 17 minutes, but here comes the juicy part. Okay, the membership agreement. So by the way, before I get into this, all of these features could be utilized in a positive way. That's very interesting about this, is that the system isn't bad inherently, and it's certainly not bad all the time. It's just, it could be bad, and it is in fact abused, right? But it doesn't have to be abused. So if everyone was conscientious and everyone was good, then virtually every single one of these items could be channeled in a positive way, in a way that's positive for people in general, for society, for customers, for the company. Everyone could be happy. And yet that's not what happens. I think it's kind of similar to communism, In an ideal world, communism would be great. Everyone would put in a maximum effort. There wouldn't be the waste of competitiveness, right? Competitiveness generates an enormous amount of waste. So, as a nation, people would be a lot more prosperous because you don't have that competitive waste. And everyone would just put in their maximum effort. So there'd be much more resources to go around for everyone in the ideal world. That's not what happens, in fact, right? But anyway, okay. So membership. So the membership is very misleading, because the way the membership is touted is you're going to save a lot of money, and all you got to do is pay the $100 one time, and for the next year, you'll get a 15% discount. You'll get the dispatch fee will be waived. I believe that is also the case. They don't charge the $30 dispatch fee, and they also tell you they don't charge the mandatory dispatch fee of evenings and holidays. So the way it normally works in this company with RCP, where I worked at, is that if you call after hours, after 7 p.m. or days that they're not, where they're normally not open, and yet they do always have people on call. So they'll still be able to service your call, but they'll charge you more for that. So if you call during those hours, then they'll charge you an $80 fee on top of whatever else you're paying. So that's the additional off-hour fee. So if you're a member, you don't have to pay that fee. So that's a significant benefit. If it even happens once, then you virtually, recouped your cost. So yeah, if it happens even once during the year, then you recoup your cost. The free dispatch fee, the waiver of the $29.95 is not usually make any difference because they don't usually charge you the $29.95 if you do something with them. And 99% of people, I guess it's not that high, it's probably 95 or 98. I mean, if they call the company and they ask for a technician over, they're going to actually use the company for something. Okay, maybe it might not be a high ticket repair, but it's at least going to be $100. And it's, by the way, the job of the customer service representative. They're trained to weed out people who are just fishing for information and just not intending to purchase anything. That's their job, by the way. I'll get back to that in a moment. But anyway, so the membership is a very attractive offer. It seems very attractive. No, so what's the problem with this? The problem is as follows. The problem is that, and that ties into one of the other features of this company. It's a high-priced company. So if the prices were reasonable to begin with, and then you say, oh, but if you pay whatever membership fee / insurance, because that's how they're really selling it, right? It's kind of an insurance policy where if you pay this amount in advance, then you don't have to pay more if something should happen. So if the price is reasonable to begin with, then the insurance policy would make sense. The membership / insurance would make sense. But that's not the case. It's very high priced. And so the problem with that is that even with the 15% discount and even with the waiver of the dispatch fee and whatever and whatnot, you're still overpaying. Okay, so the real goal of the company with selling you the membership isn't to actually, give you this on the level, mutually beneficial transaction of, hey, you're paying upfront, but then you're getting this benefit that if something should happen, then you won't have to pay excessive amounts for the dispatch fee or you'll get a 15% off and so on. So that's not really what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is to build loyalty to the company. That's what they're trying to do. So it's really a trick. It's a mental trick on your mind by saying, hey, I've already become a member with this company. They give you this whole beautiful packet. So you see a lot of nice literature there. And it's all emotional work. There's nothing in this packet. I mean, there's no substantive information there. It's all meant to impress on you that, hey, this company is for you. You're loyal to this company. Make an impression on you. And in the future, they'll get you a business. So even with the 15% off, they're still making plenty of money. And in fact, many techs, the prices here are so high that many techs will give you what they call the value rate, which is the 15% discounted rate. They'll give it to you anyway, even if you don't have a membership, because they're just trying to get your business. So even if you don't purchase the membership, you will still get it. I mean, certainly if you ask for it, but even if you don't ask for it, they'll just offer it anyway, just to secure. They'll tell you, for example, okay, look at this. This is the book price, but you know what? I'm going to give you the value rate, and so it looks better, and the customer usually goes with it because they perceive better value. So so that's the story with the that's the story with that. Okay. Oh, I'm talking 23 minutes. That's not good. It's going on for too long. All right. Okay, so let me talk about the $29.95 dispatch fee. So they only charge $30. Now, on the surface, it seems that this is a very good offer, right? But in reality, like I said, 95% of the people, if you call someone over, if you call a technician over to your house, obviously you want them to perform the service. You don't just want them to show up. The $29.95 dispatch fee is just for them to show up. Very, very important caveat here. It's misleading. People might think, hey, it's for them to show up and look at the problem. But no, don't look at the problem, certainly not in a meaningful way. They will not touch any wires. They will not diagnose, they will not do anything. They just show up and talk to you. It's just to talk to you. And they usually will not try to ferret out any substantive information to the extent that they'll be able to diagnose it, even if they could, which they probably couldn't just by talking to you. So basically, it's a useless call. It's really useless. If you're spending $30 for them to show up and do what? So a legitimate company will tell you, oh, it's X amount of money to show up and diagnose the problem, right? And this is why, obviously, it's a higher amount. And they'll charge you, like I said, 50, 60, 70. But even then, like I mentioned earlier, they're still losing money if you're not repairing it with that company. But this company, this low price is evidently, it's meant to be a loss leader. It's meant to be they're lowballing on purpose. They're lowballing it. It's meant to be so that you would look at the low price. Hey, it's only $29. This company is cheaper than the other company. They're charging $50. This company's only charging $30. What they don't realize is, hey, you're not paying for anything, and then the company's going to overcharge you on the actual repair. So it's a trick. So don't fall for it. The company makes you feel that they care. So one of the things they train you is, you walk into the house. I'm going to put my booties on. I'm going to put my shoe covers on, so that not to ruin your tiles or your carpet. When they park in front of your house, they say, "Ooh, is my truck parked okay?" And these questions and these interactions are not meant to do anything rational. Like, your shoes might be perfectly fine. They still want you to wear the shoe covers, even if they're perfectly fine. And it's meant to show the customer, hey, I care. I care about you. I care about not blocking your access to your garage. I care about your house. I care. So it's an emotional play on you. And the other thing they train you is to do small talk. And again, I say a lot of these things are, remember I told you earlier, these things have a legitimate purpose. They could be legit. I mean, small talk is very disarming. In the right place and time, it is very appropriate. And, nobody wants really somebody who is completely transactional. They come up, they do their work, they charge money. I mean, wouldn't it be nice for them to be human and actually show at least some interest in their personal affairs and so on? So that's completely normal. The problem is when you are doing it as a hook, now that you've developed this I want to use the word relationship, but that's probably too strong a word. But now that you've developed this rapport with me, this thing, now it's harder for them to piss you off, quote unquote, by not doing business with you, right? That's really the idea. So again, it's preying on people's emotional vulnerabilities, because a lot of people are like that, because if they like you, they don't want to antagonize you, right? Even though this is really business. It's not about anything else. It's really about business. And if you're going to if you're going to crawl into my pocketbook, then you better justify it. But again, this is not how most people are. So they're really capitalizing on that vulnerability. That once you've made small talk and you've developed this rapport, now they're going to be more inclined to purchase higher price tickets and so on. Okay, the options. So the options has a legitimate purpose, because it is certainly possible. So using the previous example, let's say you're walking into their house and you see a water heater that's, let's say, you have the element is not heating. Okay, so it's a faulty element. So elements go bad. They're constantly going on and off, on and off, on and off. If you're using a lot of water, then they're almost going to be constantly on. Either way, they take a lot of wear and tear, and it's going to go bad. It's going to go bad before the entire water heater goes bad. Now, is it legitimate to say to a customer, hey, you know what? If you want, you can have the entire heater replaced. It's an option. And if you have the entire heater replaced, then I guarantee you that you won't have any issues, any other issues, because everything will be new in the next, let's say, 10 years. Okay. So I guess it's a legitimate question, because it is true, and it is possible that some customers will say, hey, you know what? Once one component of the water heater goes bad, I don't want to deal with it at all. Just replace the whole thing. But this is not, let's make it very, very clear here. This is not the advisable option. They won't tell you that. The commission won't tell you that. The commission is trying to encourage you by presenting this as option one. They're obviously trying to encourage you to go with that option. But even if they're not, simply presenting it as an equally valid option is also misleading, because that is certainly not an advisable option from a professional. Because like I just described to you, this is a component that is expected to go bad before other components. So unless you have evidence that other major components are failing as well, then simply because the water heating element has failed shouldn't be cause in and of itself to recommend, in your professional opinion, an entirely new water heater. So this could be very misleading. Even though it doesn't have to be, it could be, and is usually employed in a pressurized and a sale pressured way to try to get you to spend a lot more than you should. All right, so the camera inspection. Okay, so let's talk about hydrojetting for a moment. Okay, so hydrojetting is, for some reason, every industry, if you're familiar with different industries in America, you know that every industry has certain parts that are offered at cost or a little bit above cost, and then other areas of the industry are extremely profitable. Why that is mysterious to me. I don't know how these things happen, and I assume that over time these things invert themselves and metamorphosize into different business strategies. Probably once consumers are sufficiently aware of how the industry works, and there's enough competition that lowers the price on the high profit transaction. But like, for example, in the retail industry, it used to be that warranties were extremely profitable. Offering a warranty protection plan, as they call it, were extremely profitable. So they sell you, for example, a camera. So the camera that you're paying, let's say $950 for the camera. I'm talking about years ago, 15 years ago. Nowadays, I think people purchase these protection plans less, I think. But anyway, so they'll sell you the camera for $950, and then they'll sell you, let's say, a warranty for another $150, right? But the $150 was a lot more profitable to the company than the camera. Actually, not a lot, but it's now you thinking the consumer thinks, oh, this is $950. This is an expensive camera, and the warranty is only $150. So it seems like an attractive transaction, but the reality is that the company didn't make a lot of money from the camera because it's very competitive. They can't charge too much because everyone else is selling the same camera, and there isn't a lot of added value in selling a camera that you didn't even create. So they can charge a lot for the camera, but for the protection plan, that they will, and they do overcharge, and your competitor also overcharges. So everyone overcharges on the protection plan, but they undercharge on the camera. Anyway, so in this plumbing field, for some reason, right now at this stage of the game, they overcharge on hydrojetting. I don't know why. It's not a complicated procedure. They come with I mean, in the simplest form, they don't even need heavy equipment. It's essentially a pressurized hose, a hose that sprays pressured water, and the nozzles have to be shaped in a certain direction because it has to um, it has to um, it has to go back towards where it came from, because you want the debris, whatever is stuck to the walls of the pipe, you want it to come out. You don't want to flush it down the sewer. You want it to come out from where the pipe is coming in, from the clean out usually. So anyway, so yeah, so it's a relatively simple procedure, and yet they overcharge. There's no reason for them to charge $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for hydrojetting, even of your entire house, the main line. It takes an hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes. It costs them absolutely nothing in capital. I mean, I should say in supplies, right? Obviously, the actual hydrojetting machine costs money, but again, it's a lot of mental games here. They'll try to bring a big truck and a big equipment to make you feel as if this is a heavy duty and highly intense job, but it isn't. It actually isn't, and it could be done very cheap and very easily. It doesn't require great skill. and very often the intensity and the enormity of the actual job and the truck is just meant to impress on you that this is a big job and it warrants the high cost, but it isn't. Anyway, so that's the hydrojetting. So remember, whenever somebody gives you a free camera inspection, they're trying to do one of two things. They're either trying to sell you an entirely new line, or they're trying to sell you a hydrojetting procedure. So should you accept it? I don't know what to tell you. It's very tempting to accept it because you're not committing yourself to anything. But what you're really doing is you're inviting a salesman into your house who's trying to sell you something. The salesman will never, any salesman from this company who gets a referral for a what's it called, to do a camera inspection, they will never come back and tell you, okay, sure, your line is great, and there you go. You got yourself a free camera inspection. They will never do that. You understand that as a customer, and so you have to understand that you're not going to get an honest assessment here. But I'm actually off topic here because I'm not offering. This is not the part where I'm offering the customer advice on this. Okay, so so that's basically it. All right, I'm going to end this stream, and I am going to leave it public or make it private. I'm going to make it private for now.